Save time and wow your guests with this perfect bake-ahead meal. My name is Lisa and welcome to Shooting Stars in the Kitchen. So today I'm making some twice-baked potatoes. Now, I was diagnosed with celiac a few years ago and I am not a trained chef. I am learning how to cook, how to make some of my favorite meals gluten-free. I am trying to stay safe. Now, I'm also always on the go, so I like things to be quick and easy. Okay, so my oven is preheating at 350 degrees, and I'm gonna go ahead and get my potatoes prepped for the twice-baked potatoes. Now, I keep my potatoes in here in this potato bin. There's quite a few in here. Well, quite a few. Let's open it up. So normally you just open it up this way, but I'm gonna show you. So this is the potato bin. There's a few potatoes left, but they're not quite nice enough to make the twice-baked potatoes. I mean, they could pass for it, but I went ahead and bought a fresh bag of potatoes. Now, these are russet potatoes that I have in here, and these are just regular potatoes, I guess, washed potatoes. So I'm going to go ahead and open this bag up, wash a few potatoes, and I'm going to put the remainder in here. But first, I'm going to do something else with these. So stay tuned. Now, do you wash your potatoes before you bake them? So now I'm making baked potatoes, so I'm leaving the skin on. So I come from a family where we use a paring knife to take the skin off. My husband's family comes from a family that uses peelers for their potatoes. So which one are you? Are you the paring knife or are you a peeler family? Now, what I love about this one is that there's this little scoop right over here so that if there's like a little eye thing or something, an imperfection in the potato that I want to take out, I can just go whoop, and scoop it out. So are you team knife or team peeler? So these potatoes that I got, they're not as nice as I would have liked. So I'm going to go ahead and give them a wash. Now, I just put some water in them and then I grab a little scrub brush or I grab, I have a little vegetable mitt that I love to use. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and then I will come back. Okay, so the recipe calls for me to poke some holes into the potato. Now, do you use a knife or do you use a fork? I tend to use a knife just because I don't know, I just do. But my mom tends to use a fork. Okay, so go ahead. I'm going to do this with all of them. And then I'm going to put them all on the sheet. All right, so I've got all of my potatoes in here and they are jammed packed. Now, the next thing that the recipe calls for is some butter, for me to pour some butter on top of the potatoes, coat them, and put a little bit of salt. So I'm going to go ahead and soften my butter. So I've got butter and I've cut a little piece here. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the microwave and I will be back. All right, so now that is a lot of butter, a lot more butter than I expected it would be. So I'm going to use some of it, but I am making something, I'm making other recipes today. So today is a big cook day for me. So I'm going to go ahead and just pour a little bit of these and then I will brush them on just like that. And you can just easily coat them with what's at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with all of them. And then now it's time to salt them just a little bit. And put them in the oven for about an hour 15. Now, while the potatoes are cooking in the oven, I need cheese. I can do some other things while that is cooking because it's going to cook for a while. Now, I need 1.5 cups of cheese. Now, I'm using this. This is what was on sale today. So I'm going to go ahead and get that started. Now, I could grate it by hand. Now, that is a tedious process that I don't really enjoy doing. So I'm going to show you my little secret on how to get a lot of cheese grated. Now, when I buy cheese, I tend to buy 1 or 2 bricks at a time. And if I'm going to start shredding it, if I'm going to eat it shredded, I tend to shred it all because, again, it takes no time with this. and then I store them in one of these freezer containers, and then I freeze them, right? Whatever I don't use, I can freeze, and then miraculously, when it freezes, because this is a special freezer container, I can just grab what I need and put it on my plate. So I can make some, last minute nachos, last minute wraps, or anything that I need cheese. It's available in this little container. So I'm going to go ahead and set up my master grater. And it has quite a few options on it. So I'm going to go ahead and put that back. So let's start with the base. You position the base where you need it, and then it locks in place. It's like a little suction cup on your counter. Now, if it doesn't work on your counter, if it doesn't work on the surface that you want to use it on, now it doesn't always work on my kitchen table because it has, like, I guess, a waxy film. So what I tend to do is just move it on the counter. So I'm going to use the same bowl. I wash the bowl, put it underneath, and oops, it's a little too big. I'll cut them up in sizable chunks that I need. Ready to go. Can you hear that noise? Sounds like there's a subway. Just my laundry. All right, so put that in here, put the guard, and voila. Look at that. Easy peasy, and you'll see that it takes no time to get through this brick of cheese. And it's really easy to clean as well. Currently cooking the bacon. This is why I have this apron on, but it really isn't very nice bacon. So I'm only cooking what I need, and then I'm going to put the rest in my bacon keeper, so that way someone else in my family can cook the bacon. Okay, so the potatoes are done. Now you can see I kind of went overboard, and I see here that I've put a little too much salt on some of them. I'm wondering if I can use a knife. Okay, it's not too bad. Some of it will come off, but let's see. They can use another cook, but most of them are ready, I think. All right, so I'm going to let them cool a little bit. And once they're cool, then I will do the rest. Okay, so now I need some butter. So half a cup of butter. We've already used some of it, so I'm going to use the rest of it in the potatoes. Then I need some sour cream. So 1 cup of sour cream. This is the one that I've used, the gold. It's a little creamier, and I really like it. Then I need some cheddar cheese, and then I need some milk. And then, so this was the cheddar cheese, so I still have this much left that I'm going to put away afterwards. The butter, obviously, we saw. Now, I also need some bacon. Now, I cooked some bacon earlier, and I think so you'll have seen the clip of the bacon that I've cooked. Wasn't very nice bacon. We actually ate it instead, and I am using these bacon bits from Costco. And then the remaining of the bags, I'm going to divide them in here. So again, I like these freezer containers because I can put them in here, and then I can take one out, and then we can use it, or we can just, pick at it, and it doesn't kind of freeze up in a clump. It just freezes really nicely. So that is what we like to do. And then we like to heat it up sometimes a little bit, or I put it in the fridge, and that's what we use for the week. So this is one good way of keeping your bacon bits nice and fresh. So now I'm going to start mixing everything. Okay, so I guess what I forgot to mention was the cream cheese that is also going in there. So I've got all of our potatoes here. So I'm going to start by mashing them just a little bit. I can mash them with the masher, but it doesn't really go very well. because the potatoes aren't quite soft enough. So I cook them the first cook. Now it needs to cook the second time, right? Because we don't want them mushy or overcooked the second time. So it has to be a little bit, if it was pasta, al dente, essentially. So I'll go ahead and put a little bit in here. I was planning on mixing most of the stuff and then doing this part. See, look at that, much better. Now I'm going to actually get a second bowl. Sometimes when you're cooking, you need to change your plans a little bit, and that's completely okay. And when you have the right tools, then it works out really well. So some people use a hand mixer, or they use a blender. I just like this. This is wonderful. Doing smaller batches. And then every time that I pull, it's cut 7 or 8 times. It's just to get it a little bit more mashed so that when I mix the stuff together, and then I'll probably mix it in here once again. But some of these chunks are pretty big. Okay, now to mix some of the stuff in. So I'm going to put some of the butter. There you go, just like that. I'm going to put the milk in. And that will allow me to mash it just a little bit more and get that liquid in there. Good. I'm going to go ahead and add the sour cream in there. And of course, the spatula is perfect for that, to get the sour cream out of the measuring cup. Gonna give that a little mix. Okay, and you can see right now, still a little lumpy. That's okay, because it's going to get another mix. Next thing is I'm going to add some of the cream cheese in there. Cream cheese is softened. Now it calls for the entire 8 ounces of cream cheese, but I'm not sure if I want to put the whole thing in. But we'll see. Yeah, you know what? Why not? Let's just put it in. It's nice and soft. Put that aside. I'm going to go ahead and give that a mix. I should have cut it up in cubes. Would have made my life easier. Okay, so I think I'm going to do it in smaller batches, and I'm going to put them back in here, mix it all up, add a little bit of cheese to that, and then I will put it back in this bowl here. So let's go and do that. Because you want your filling to be nice and smooth when you add it back into your potatoes. Like that. A little bit of cheese, because you want the cheese to be folded in. Some of the bacon bits. There you go. That's probably how much I'm going to use. All right, and let's get this mixed. Getting a workout. All right. And just like that. Now we're going to use the same spatula and put it back in the bowl. This is going to be so yummy, so creamy, so good. Now look at the difference in the mixture. Put that here. We've got this mixture versus this mixture. Okay, you can see this one here and then this one here. And of course you can make it a little smoother if you'd like, but you know what? I think this works well for me. Okay, so now the mixture is all done. I give it a little stir just to kind of mix things up. Just in this way, you know what? Everything is nice and even. And pretty much I just shove everything in the sink. You can shove most of the stuff in the dishwasher. You want to wash the blade by hand, but without really touching it. So that's why a brush comes in very handy, and that way you're not cutting, because this is very sharp. You should not put this in the dishwasher, but pretty much everything else can go in the dishwasher. Now, this little thing here, you can't put the pull cord part, the red part, into the dishwasher, but you can put the white part in. Just press the button, and then you can twist, and it comes off, and then you can just put this in the sink, and then just kind of give that a little wash with your cloth. So that's the way it goes. All right. So now it's time to stuff the potatoes back in. Now I'm going to be cooking a few of them tonight, but some of them I'm going to be freezing. Okay, so I'm using this large freezer mate container to put them in. And again, it's the same thing as these little ones. It's just a bigger format, right? So it's a lot bigger. It fits a family size. You can freeze them. So at this point, I'm just going to stuff them, add some cheese and some bacon bits on top, and I'm going to freeze them. Now, if you want to go ahead and cook them, you cook them at 350. And if it's just you freshly made them, you know, about 20 minutes or so, and then you let it stand for about 15 minutes. But if it's from frozen, it's about 40 minutes that you put them in the oven, and then you let them sit for a little bit, and then they should be perfect. So now let's start. So I'm going to grab that. I'm going to grab my ice cream scoop again, and I'm just going to start stuffing. There we go. Just like that. Now I like to do things in batches. So I just like to do all the stuffing, and then I'll add the cheese and the bacon on top afterwards. You can also use a piping bag, I think, but this is, if it was a little smoother, I could use a piping bag, but I don't have one on hand, because when I was diagnosed with celiac, I threw away a lot of my cake making supplies, or actually I gave them away, that I had on hand, because they were all contaminated with gluten, and I'm very, very sensitive. So part of the reason why I love this spatula is that, you know, normally we would just go ahead and wash that like that, but look at what happens. I am scraping the sides. Look how much cleaner the bowl is. Let's see if I can do it all in one swoop. Look at that, all that extra food. And this bowl, much easier to clean. I'm gonna add a little bit of bacon to each, just as a nice topper. And some cheese. That's just a little bit too much cheese for that one. Oops. So just adding a little bit of cheese and a little bit of bacon bits on each of them. Just like that. And I'm going to do it for the rest of them. Now, these ones I'm going to bake right away, and then these ones I am going to freeze. I just have to make sure that I do label them as well. Labeling is very, very important. That way you can find what you have in the freezer. Now, the question is, where do you put the label? Do you put it in over here in the front or the top? Again, that depends how you're going to store them. Now, these are going to go in my stand-up freezer downstairs. So I'm going to put the label in the front here because this is usually how I store them. So go ahead, put the lid on. Oops. The lid on, and voila. These are going to be ready. Now I realize that I have to make another batch without the bacon because my future daughter-in-law does not eat pork. She only eats fish and poultry, but she does not eat beef or pork or any of that stuff. So I'm going to make it without the bacon, so that way she has her own little bit. So what I might do is I might freeze 2 or 3 in a smaller one like this and make sure that I label it properly, because I always appreciate that when somebody is making something gluten-free for me. So I'm going to thoroughly clean the area that I worked at, and I'm going to thoroughly clean the dishes that I've used, because I don't want pork to touch anything that's touched the bacon bits. I want to make sure that I wash that thoroughly, so that way when I do make her version, then it's free of the pork that she doesn't eat. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to put the cheese and the bacon bits on this one, and then I'm going to throw in the oven at 350 for about 20 minutes, and then I'm going to take it out, show you what it's like, and then 15 minutes later, and then we'll be able to eat. Look at that. So good. I think I can put them in the oven just a little longer, but you know what? I think I'm ready to eat.